Hello everyone, this is Tim, and today we're going to go through another recap for the A Song of Ice and Fire game. Started out in the bear pit. This is where we left off in the last session. Brander is naked, he's covered in his own father's blood, he's holding his father's sword, and the bear is roaring up, screaming at him, growling, and that's where we kind of left off and started. So Brander basically started out, he swung up with the sword, like slicing a huge swath of destruction in the chest of this bear. And the whole time I kept thinking, I'm probably gonna have to burn a destiny point. Maybe that's the game mechanics coming through. But the creature launched into my shoulder, was gnawing at it, ripping huge chunks of it out. And in game mechanics format, I had to take a wound for it. So that reduced all my rolls by 1 dice. So the bear's chomping into me and swathing at me with its giant claws. I'm trying to hack at it with the sword, but now the bear's on top of me and the sword's right there. So I'm twisting the sword into the chest of the bear as it's gnawing on my shoulder. People are starting to look in the stands around the bear pit, trying to see what's going on. They saw that the Lord, its head was. His head's on the ground, all dismembered and chopped up because Brander, hacked at it last time. So, the bear's chomping at me. I started to. That's right. The sword kind of got free, and the bear was right here. I couldn't really do it because it had me in a bear hug, and there were a few bear puns being thrown around here. It's kind of funny, but I put the sword behind its neck and I grabbed onto it. Where's my hand at? I grabbed onto the side of the sword and the hilt and just pulled as hard as I could into the back of the neck and was sawing at it like this. The thing's chewing on my shoulder, Brander's screaming, but he's calling his father's name, and Brander has this weird vision that the soul of his dead father is imbued in the soul of the bear, so he's kind of freaking out about that. So there's blood everywhere, blood running down the neck of the creature. The bear, the chest is bleeding all over, Brander. Then I think that's when I leaned forward and tried to chew the eye out of the bear with one of my hands and my mouth, and that didn't really work out that well. But it Brander was just out of sorts. He had just killed his father. All kinds of thoughts are going through his head, and he's starting to understand that he's going to die unless he does something pretty dramatic. So he's slashed the hell out of his hand, holding on to the end of a father's greatsword, chopping through the neck. At this point, the bear throws me off of it, because it's taking some damage from its neck. It's bleeding. It's roaring. It's starting to lose a lot of blood though, so it's starting to wear down. And at this point, the bear comes at me. I jump onto the back of it, and I reach into that sliced wound in the back of its neck and just start digging my fingers into the meat. Underneath the skin, pulling down, just ripping into it, holding on for dear life as the thing is trying to pull me off of it. Its claws are, going like this. And eventually I got to the spinal cord of the thing. The spinal cord and the bones and cartilage, and I just yanked back as hard as I could, snapping the neck inside of the flesh of the bear. And it collapsed onto the ground. And even though Father's sword was right there, Brander gets this idea that I'm going to tear this bear's head off with my bare hands. And that's exactly what it did. What he did. It took a while because it was a large specimen too. Brander was bleeding profusely from his shoulder, but he's just grabbing the rat around the head and twisting it and pulling it, snapping bones and cartilage and tearing the flesh, and the big tracts of flesh and fur were being ripped off the back. So while that was going on, my family members show up. That's Alina, played by Rohir, and Marcus, played by Eunice, and some of the other brothers and sisters that are NPCs. like Edgum and Nathan and Marianne and some of these other characters like that. So they're watching this all happen, and townsfolk are starting to watch all this happen. So it's a pretty big spectacle. You know, they see the dismembered head and arms and stuff of the lord of the house, Edgar. They see what's happening. They're not exactly sure what exactly is going on, though. There's a tradition in our family, House Roderick, that criminals enter the bear pit, face mortal combat with the bear, and that's sort of the trial by combat, trial, for the gods to approve who is innocent and who's guilty. And that was the idea that Brander had when he went into the pit, that, I'm going to do this and let the gods judge me. I have killed my own father. I am a kinslayer. It's up to you guys. Do you want me to live or not? I'm going to face this bear. So the bear died, and by tradition, even though he's a kinslayer, and that's like automatic death, almost anywhere else in the kingdoms, as far as House Roderick is concerned, and maybe some of the northern houses as well, he has been proved innocent. So, to finish things off, Marcus suggested that he skin the bear to finish it. So that's exactly what Brander did. He took the great sword and slid it into the back of the creature, and then just tore all the fur, and he wrapped it around his naked body. So the blood of the bear was mixing with the blood of Brander, and he got this idea stuck in his head that the blood of the bear, maybe even the blood of his father, was running through his veins. So he was sort of out of it, and sort of looking around and having like a 1,000-yard stare after this whole thing. Amma Bravehand, she's the master of coin and steward, was shocked. Turley, he's sort of the master of arms. He wanted to get into the bear pit as quick as possible, just to see what the heck was going on. Marcus then gave his own bandana, that's an iron claw, to Brander. Now, the iron claws are those criminals that have succeeded in defeating the bear in single combat, and now they support the house. Their background and history is wiped clean, and they are known to be ferocious warriors, and they go through this rigorous training, which Brander's not going to have to do. That's a pretty small price to pay for killing your father and getting away with it. So Brander is naked, like I said, wearing the skin and hide of the bear that he just killed. And this is when Marcus, in the center of the bear pit with all these people watching, didn't really say anything, but he took his father's ring, signet ring, and placed it on his finger and just held up a fist, just showing everyone that he was now the lord of House Roderick, that things have progressed. And that's the way that Marcus is. He's just a physical, intimidating presence, and he sort of rules. Well, he's going to start ruling, I guess, with intimidation, fear, but not so bad as his father was. But we'll get into that. So he's wearing his father's ring. Tassil, the maester, came onto the scene and wanted to wipe up Brander and take care of him, but I wanted to stay there for this whole ceremony that was going on, and we waited. Let's see here. All of the people now bowed before Marcus, since he's the new lord, and they were all summoned. All the important people were summoned to the chamber, the main hall, to swear their allegiances, their oaths of fealty to Marcus Roderick, since he was going to be their new lord. Let's see here. Turley said that one of the horses was missing, and Sim, who was the late Lord Edgar's assistant, confidant, had fled. And Sim had saw a lot of the violence and heard the things that were being said, that Lord Roderick was dead, so he fled. So they know that Sim is going to cause trouble. He is going to probably go to House Rain or some of these other, or House Mormont, and spill the beans about what actually happened, what's going on. And Marcus got this idea that he's not going to lie. He's going to tell it the way it is. And that way they can't be, they can't be caught in a lie. Yes, my bastard brother, Brander, killed our father. He went into the bear pit, was judged by the gods, and he is innocent. So that's what the story is going to be. Though they are trying to omit some of those details in the messages they're sending out to the different houses via Raven, so that it's not as in your face. Leave out some of the details, but not lie about any of the details. So sort of like a sin of omission, I guess. But in addition to what was going on, Brander made sure to collect his things, and he kept the 4 fingers, like from here up. Father would survive with a thumb, but this section of Father's hand was cut off by Brander in the violent scene in the blacksmiths, where Father was trying to brutalize Marcus and all that stuff. And Brander gets it in his head that he wants to keep it. He wants to keep the bones of the hand that used to abuse him all the time. He wants to keep something of Father's for himself. So he took that back with the maester, as the maester was sort of using his shoulder to carry him over there to a private room to take care of him. Cleaned all of his wounds, bandaged him up, and Brander kept looking over at the pants that he had with his father's hand in there. And later, let's see here, I'm skipping around a little bit. What else we got? Tasildgate gives him some dream wine, some milk of the poppy for the pain, because he was pretty damaged up. And he starts having this crazy dream. He's at the dream where he's at that place where the fireplace is. He sees his mangled body below him, and this creature that had blue eyes that was above the wall, that was laying there as well, but his vision was through the eyes of someone else. So he was looking down at his body, but he was behind the eyes of somebody else. So, as a player, I'm like, wow, what's going on here? Is Brander not in his body? What happened here? Is Brander not even Brander? All these thoughts start swirling through my head when Zig goes through these dreams and visions, and I really have no idea what the hell's going on. But that's good, because it keeps me looking for the next piece of the puzzle. We're seeing through the eyes of the creature, and then we're suddenly back at the cave, and Brander's crawling out of it, and then he starts to hear seagulls. And when he gets out of the cave, he's in a completely different place. This narrow cave entrance. He comes out. There's overwhelming heat. It's warm. He's crawling out of the crevice, and there's just this wide room, and those seagulls are off in the distance, and he can see water through the windows. And in the center of this room is a large basin of water. And he sort of remembered that while he was taking the dream wine and the milk of the poppy, that there was a basin of water in the room with him, and he's kind of thinking, am I dreaming? Is that what I'm looking at? But something came around it, and it was his mother, Beish. He couldn't hear her at first, so he had to move forward. And this is what I like about Zig's descriptions, because it's very dreamlike. Things that should happen don't in dreams sometimes. So Brander is stumbling forward, and he can't walk straight at her for some reason until he looks down and sees why. He's walking around the bodies of corpses, people laying on the floor, looking like they might be asleep. And the floor was white, gray, and black tiles. And Brander wasn't in control of his steps, but he was almost like riding, like he was along for the ride or something. And me as a player, this is when I start, some of my knowledge of setting starts filtering in. The House of White and Black that is in the novels where Arya goes to spend some time. That popped into my head, like, okay, I think that's what this is, but I'm not sure, So again, I'm still guessing. Let's see here. And the last time that Brander has seen Beish, his mother, was before he went off to the wall. So it's been a long time, and me as a player, I'm looking forward to meeting her in the campaign. I think that's going to happen because Brander asked to have her come and talk to him. So she was very seductive looking, wearing feathers all over her, and she has lots of freckles and red hair. This is when Brander in the dream looks down, and his hands are black. All of his arms are stained black as far so much as he can see. He looks down. He's not really sure what's going on. So when he looked into the basin, his skin had no flesh under it. It almost looked like a skull with just skin laying over top of it. So, very emaciated, very, very, looking like death. And his own mother says, "You're not my son." This is when he woke up, and he just did some reading while he was, recovering from the wounds from the bear. Marcus and Alina were walking back from the bear pit to Bear Hold. That's our establishment, our house. And they chose to say that, like I said, they're going to tell the truth, that Brander killed Father and was redeemed. And Alina said, everyone knows Brander has fits. So they're hoping that people expect this of him, that, oh, well, that makes sense. His blood is bad. He's a bastard. Makes sense, So like I said, they're going to send ravens out. Edgum, Nathan, and Marianne were still in the main hall. Nathan was focused on playing his game of Savas. And Edgum said that Nathan wasn't really paying attention. And this is where we as players learned a little bit about Nathan himself, that he has a hard time with social cues, and he doesn't filter himself, and he's very good at tactics and those sorts of things, book learning, but when it comes to people, he has no clue. And I think this is why Brander and him get along so well, because Brander is like that too. Edgum knocked over the pieces of the Savas board, and Nathan just picked them up. Marcus came in, held up Marianne, and was trying to cheer her up. Marcus put his hand on Nathan's shoulder, and just basically trying to be a comforting older brother, even though he's not very much like that. He knows that their father has done a lot to them, and he's trying to help them, trying to tell them that he's taking Father's place and that things will continue, hopefully in a better fashion. He warned them of the chaos that might happen soon, that things need put in order, that some of the rival houses might be at our throats. And there's a little concern, especially from Nathan, about Ulmer. This is Marcus's younger brother, Brander's older half-brother. That Ulmer has all of these forces in the Wood Tower lands, and there's the blockade of ships around the island. If Ulmer wants to, he perhaps could have a sort of line of succession civil war within House Roderick. He has all the forces. He has the Iron Claws. He has most of the troops. If he can get to the ships first, and his intention is to fight Marcus for the ownership of the house, that could go very badly. So the idea was for Marcus or someone to go to these captains, and later Marcus takes care of that. Basically get the captains on Marcus's side before Ulmer can. And this is what's great about the Song of Ice and Fire. There's all these fears of who is going to betray you, what are their selfish desires, and are they going to try to go through with them? So you're always kind of like, oh, I don't know, that person, I trust them, but I don't know, maybe there's something going on there that I'm not real too sure about. So that's nice. Let's see here. Alma basically learned of Marcus's deeds before she was told, but when she was told the truth, she calmed down and seemed to be more on Marcus's side, the House Roderick side of things, instead of maybe going off and helping out Ulmer. Let's see here. So in the Great Hall, Marcus gave this rousing speech in Edgar's chair, the Lord's chair. And he was sort of sitting there like Conan, and I love the way that Eunice described that. It was really good. They talked about the whole thing with Brander and murderers cleansing their crimes in the bear pit, making sure that everyone that's here understands what happened. Let's see here. So he basically gave it, I'm going to be the new Lord. I'm not going to be like Father, but you need to respect me. You need to follow my orders, basically. Except for his family members, he gave them more freedom to express their thoughts, to disagree with him, and to point out things that he might need to change. And they're very worried about Sim. Where is Sim? Where is he going? Who is he talking to? And this is when Alma told them that, she questioned the validity of the bear pit, but that she kind of let that slide. And she told them that Sim talked to her before he fled, and that he was indeed going to Ulmer and not to these other rival houses. So that was, at first, kind of like, oh, okay, he's not going to House Rain or one of these other houses, so that's good. But oh shit, he's going to the younger brother, and if he just says one lie, like Marcus killed Father, that's enough for Ulmer to say, screw it. I'm going to be the Lord of House Roderick. I'm coming down and bringing hell with me, all these soldiers, and we're going to cleanse house, clean house. So Almer and Sim, the possibility of warfare or civil war in the house has a lot of people worried. Turley was told to go to the retainer with some retainers and get those captains of those ships and to break the blockade and come back home, come back to Bearhold. So allegiances were sworn. Omsler asked about the Black Knight, Sir Pollard Blackstone, because Blackstone was very devoted to the late Lord Roderick. And they're not sure what he's going to do. If he finds out that Lord Edgar was slain by his own bastard son, he might want to have nothing to do with Marcus or the house. He might do something rash. So they put him on house arrest, put guards around him, and I'm sure there's going to be some issues with that. Also, there was Lillian Rivers, who was there as a guest. She wouldn't swear fealty, but she said that she would do anything she could for the house, because they're one of the only people that would take her in. And again, we learned that Lillian Rivers is actually Lily from the last campaign that Rohir played. So that's kind of a cool thing that Zig did. He brought her back in. So with fears of Almer and his forces, everybody, not sure what's going on, Nathan decided to go see Brander to see how he was doing, how he was recuperating. And then Alina showed up after they started playing Savas, and Brander was trying to teach something to Nathan. Nathan was very good at strategy, but he would always see the long-term things, and Brander was trying to say to him that not everyone is trying to win. Sometimes they just want to kill one of the pieces on the board, and that's their total goal. And that they don't care if they lose. And that was sort of a weird concept for Nathan. So Nathan was teaching Brander long-term strategy, and I think Brander was teaching him that not everyone is in it for the long term. That some people just have very short moments in time that they want to grasp for themselves, and then they don't care what happens to them after that. Kind of shows, I think, showed Nathan what Brander is like. That Brander tends to be that kind of person. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and damn the consequences. So they were talking about loyalty and family members, and Alina was told by Marcus to go to Almer and convince him to be loyal. That she needs to use everything in her power as an emissary to go to the brother and tell him he needs to bow, he needs to have an oath of allegiance, he needs to fall in line. He's the younger brother. So that's what we're probably going to do next session. Let's see what else we got here. Marcus spent some time with Alma Bravehand and trying to send out those messages and word them correctly, what they were going to write, but not send them yet. She wrote a letter to the king and to the Starks. She did not send a message to the Mormonts, although she's starting to write one. And Wayport, which is our city that is associated with us, she was saying that they were also very loyal to Lord Roderick, the late one. So we might want to do some stuff there. And Marcus decided to lower their taxes so that they're more inclined to side with Marcus. So there's also, even within House Roderick, there's lots of factions that he's trying to keep happy, trying to keep on his side so that things don't go from bad to worse. And Simeon is the sort of the lord there, not really a lord, but he runs that town, that city. So that's the person who they lower the taxes for. Marcus asked about House Redtree and their military, and she said they don't have a strong military, but what they have is very specialized and very elite. And also that they have no daughters, they have all sons. So Marcus starts to formulate this idea that maybe he can marry off Marianne or Rohir's character, Alina, to House Redtree to gain their support. And maybe not even marry, but to have a betrothal with them. Something that brings their two houses together so that they can perhaps fight off anybody that comes into their property, their estates, and to perhaps even take down House Mormont if they choose to go down that road. So plans within plans, character versus character in some ways, which I love about this type of game. That it plays out the way it's going to play out, and people just have to roll with it. And whenever Alina was brought forward to talk to Marcus about this, she was very shocked that her brother, in just becoming the Lord, he just put on the ring, and even he was worse than father in this aspect. Lord Edgar did not care about Alina's marriage, and he let her choose, and let love be her guide. And Marcus takes over, and he's trying to marry her off to the first house that he can. So she takes it very personally. She's you're saying you're gonna be much better than father, but here you are. You're already worse than father in this aspect, even though you're probably gonna be better in other things. So Marcus is thinking alliances and war, and Lena's thinking of I don't know them, I don't love them. So there was a conflict there. Let's see here. So Marianne is probably going to be betrothed to House Redtree. Let's see here. And there's some confusion. I'm not sure if they are House Redtree or House Frostfoot, because I think there's a family line that's also there. I don't know. I'll have to get Zig to clarify that for me. Okay, so they're thinking about this pact with House Redtree or House Frostfoot. Father's body was to be boiled and the bones put in the crypt below Bear Hold. Marcus wanted to have a feast, but push it off till later. He wanted to have a funeral, push that off till later. All these things. He just wants to get things done as quickly as possible. He's afraid that if he has this big feast and funeral, things are going to get out of hand quickly. So, what else we got here? So, well, that's right. When Alina came to see Brander in his room, Brander asked her a very weird question. There's something in those pants over there that I need you to take care of. I want to keep it. But don't look at it here. Take it elsewhere and look at it. And she's like, what do you mean, don't look at it? So she leaves the room, and Marcus comes to talk to her, and so she's but wait, what? And she kind of looks into the pocket, and she sees the severed 4 fingers and part of the hand of father, and she's sort of shocked, and she's trying to hide that, thinking, is Brander really asking me to boil father's fingers and keep them? And and she's trying to keep that hidden from Marcus, and Marcus is trying to pull pull out all the stops to, okay, you're gonna get married to the Red Trees, but he doesn't want to say that, so he's like, family this and loyalty and honor, and this is the way we do things, and I want you to get married to the Red Trees. so yeah, that's when that happened after that. Let's see here. So, and Alina asked, so you get to marry who you love, Lady Woodtower, but I have to marry some schlub from this very minor house to the north just because it's expedient for you. So that was a good time. Let's see here. I think we're almost done here. Alina said something very cool from this session. She said, Almer, which is also her older brother, did whatever he could to survive father's tyranny, as have all of us. You have so little faith in your own brother, because Alina thinks that Almer is not going to do this. She thinks that Almer is not going to bring soldiers down upon them, and that everything is going to work out just fine. But she's going to go and try to take care of that situation. She was also a little disturbed that Marcus is doing the plan B already. Well, if Almer is going to do this, and you fail in trying to persuade him not to attack, at least we have House Redtree. And she's like, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to go talk to Almer, put him in his place, and there's going to be no problem. We're going to be a united house. So there's a lot of tension going on. And at the very end of the session, Alina prepared the hand. She boiled the flesh off the bones. And I believe she's going to put it in some sort of container or pouch or something like that. And then Marcus went off to hang out with Lady Woodtower, Alyssa Woodtower, and he plans to get married to her, probably in the near future. So that's the last session we've had, and I believe we're playing again. Just me and Rohir. I think Eunice has to do some stuff this Saturday. So I'll probably have another recap then. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you later.